Hi, so I am a father of 4 children and I wanted an exciting performance car as my daily dad car, so I bought the Aston. Was I a complete silly sausage? Is the M3 the obvious choice that I should have bought? Let's find out. My name's Ben and welcome to Dadcars. So today we have this, the F80 M3. I mean, you could buy a really lovely one of these for around £35,000. Similar money to what you can get yourself a nice DB9 for. And on paper, this car is superior to the Aston as a daily dad car in almost every way. But first of all, let's have a look at what a dad car with proper practicality looks like. Let's get in the back. Come on girls, let's check it out. Right, what do we think then? Well, as expected, these seats are huge, aren't they? They're proper seats, and there's a lovely flat rear bench as well, which is what I really like to see. And this leather feels lovely. Look, you've got some perforated details there. What do you think, Pickle? Is there a bit more space back here than in the back of my Aston?
Yeah.
There is, isn't there? Just a little bit. But let's have a look at child seats though. Let's see how easily they fit back here. Oh, we're locked in. We're locked in. The child lock's on. Oh no! How are we going to get out? Oh, thank you, sweetie. You rescued us. We couldn't get out because the child lock was on. The Isofix base. Nice and easy to access these Isofix in the BMWs as well. Right, there we go. No great surprises here, but it's still good to see just how much space there is back here. And my glamorous assistant wanted to be in the seat. Obviously, you're far too big to go in a seat like this, aren't you? But there we go. Yeah, look, fits in there lovely. Plenty of space for the passenger. They're not going to feel compromised at all. And here we have the folding Isofix booster seat. There we go, which fits in there lovely. So I just noticed though, the Isofix points here, they're quite sort of close to the centre of the car. So I don't actually know if I'll be able to get a child seat in the middle. Right, let's have a look. So yeah, no, this is interesting. So even one of my trusty travel child seats I use in the back of the DB9, which normally can fit in the middle, it won't fit in the back of an M3.
So if you're planning on using a couple of Isofix-based child seats in the back of your M3, that's your lot. Your middle seat is now redundant. So here today we've got a 66 plate F80 M3 competition, 444 brake horsepower, 406 pound-foot of torque, 0.1 of a second quicker than the standard M3 at 4.2 seconds. And the weight is a little over 1,600 kilograms, meaning that with me and my 2 children in this car, it's lighter than the current generation G80 M3, which is over 1,800 kilograms. Modifications on this car today include B16 coilovers, Sherma front bushes, big brake kit, different wheels, and a couple of other interesting mods which I'll tell you about when I take it out for a drive.
Right, so obviously absolutely crushes the Dadcars boot test. We've got all of the owner stuff in here, and we've got a folding buggy. Massive. So quickly, before we take this out for a drive, I just want to go through the running costs of an M3 competition. So miles per gallon, you're looking at around the low 20s driving around town and low 30s on a motorway run, which compared to the Aston is low teens around town and high teens on a motorway. Servicing costs around £400 for a small service, around £800 for a major, which is slightly cheaper than the Aston Martin. Insurance on an M3 competition, this car's owner pays around £800, which is nearly double what I pay for my DB9. Funny story on that, this car's owner insured it for the first 2 years through a BMW broker, but on the 3rd year, the BMW broker said, sorry, we can't insure you now because we've changed underwriters and we no longer insure your postcode. But general reliability and maintenance costs, common sense says this modern M3 is going to be much cheaper to run than this old 14-year-old Aston. However, this car's owner did have an SOS fault warning light come up on his dash. Long story short, it's a £1,000 module fix. Module fixes. Yeah, that sounds eerily similar to the sorts of things you get with an Aston.
My name is Ben. Welcome to Children Cars.
So this car's owner, Conor, is a very tall chap. And so he has the seat all the way back, doesn't he, sweetie? And he almost sold this car because he said he couldn't get a comfortable seating position and he was getting a bad back. So what he did is he put a steering boss on and it brought the steering wheel forward and it's now one of the most comfortable cars that he's ever owned. So yeah, that's a tip for any tall drivers out there. looking to steering bosses. Now I am the opposite to that. I've got little tiny Shetland pony legs and a long body, which is good for a dad car if you need to have more space in the back. So how does this feel sitting in here then? It really does feel special. Look, these generation BMWs they're lovely, aren't they? Lovely places to sit. And then when you've got a one like this with the beautiful leather wrap dash at the top here, the carbon fibre details, contrast stitching, and this steering wheel, I mean, it's not standard, but it's very special. I mean, look at it, it's crazy. These seats are very comfortable. They look tremendous and they hug you. You can feel it on your lats there, sort of tucked in nicely. Also, look at this lovely M Sport stitching on this seat belt. Beautiful little details like that, really make it. Let's really see how fast this feels, girls.
Yeah.
You ready? Right, let's see, okay? You ready? Oof. God, that was just complete auto mode there. But yeah, it's got a lot of pace, this thing, hasn't it? And the noise of it as well. So that's one of the big complaints with this generation of M3. It's the first turbocharged one. And obviously with the previous generation, you had that glorious V8. But in here, you've got a 3-litre straight 6 twin turbocharged. So yeah, big complaint is that this sounds a bit muted. However, this car's owner has modified things a little bit. So the second cat has been removed and the resonator has been modified as well, which is basically a very cost-efficient way of making your M3 sound like this. Right, so we're coming up to another national speed limit here, girls. So let's put it into manual mode, shift down to second. Right, we're going to go fast again. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, heads back. Oh, God. This is the thing with these BMWs. Even looking on paper, like the 4.3, or I think it's actually a little bit quicker for the competition.
4.3?
They feel a lot faster. It's the same with my wife's X5.
This is like X5.
No, it's not.
Wait.
No, this is an M3, yeah. Well done, yeah. So do you know when the first M3 came out? Back in the 80s, when I was first born, when I was a baby. It's called the E30. And then the next one's the E36.
E36?
And then the one after that was the E46.
E40?
And the E46 is the M3 that I always think of, you know, I guess I'm from that generation, and it's such a good looking little tight car, that, isn't it? And then after that came the E90 with its V8. Then you got this, the F80, and then the current generation, G80. I reckon on that, if you lined up all of the generations of M3s, and then you asked 100 random people which is the best looking car, I reckon this would get the most votes. Because I mean, on the current generation one, I've still not got used to that front end. And look, there's an argument for that kidney grille though, because the shape of that kidney grille is much more similar to the traditional BMWs. You look at the really early BMWs and they had that shaped kidney grille. But I grew up with BMW kidney grilles looking like this. So to me, this is a better looking car than the current generation one. But what do you think? What do you think of the current generation one? Let me know in the comments below. I've always been interested in getting an E90, the V8 manual with the hardtop convertible. Sure, it's heavier, it's not going to be as rigid, but could you imagine the howl of that V8 while you got the wind in your hair with you and your children? What's that? No, I don't have any hair. What about the wind in my beard? And the steering feel on this as well. I mean, I was expecting this to be a lot more electronically detached, but there's still a good amount of feel in this steering. That is a pleasant surprise. And in Dadcars tradition, it's just started raining, hasn't it? So. I never really push things on corners anyway, but obviously being rear-wheel drive, a high-performance car like this, 2 little ones in the back, will keep things nice and steady. So there's an argument to be made that BMW make the best cars. They look fantastic, the interiors are wonderful, they're reliable, their performance models are absolutely incredible. Good value for money, but are they art? Now I know some people, like BMWs, completely gives them all the fizz. But for me, it's brands like Aston Martin, Maserati, Ferrari, that give me that real feeling of excitement in the pit of my stomach. And yeah, look, most of them aren't as good as a car like this, are they? I mean, look, this car on paper is better than my DB9 in almost every way, except I didn't dream as a child of owning an M3. I dreamt of owning an Aston Martin. I dream of owning a Ferrari. So as much as I'm looking forward to the day when I own an M3, which I'm no doubt I will, there's a real sense of urgency about me that I kind of, if I've got the opportunity to get one of those more special cars, that I should take it and make memories of those cars while I can. So this car's owner then, he's a dad, he's got a daughter, she's 10, you know, so I might say to him, look, this is probably more practicality than what you need. You know, maybe you should have got yourself a 911 or something. But he's got a 911 as well. He's got a 991.2 Turbo S. God, an M3 and a Turbo S. Living the absolute Dadcars dream. And he uses that car to really make memories. He drove with his daughter down to Sorrento in Italy in the 911 Turbo S. I need to step up my game of going on trips with the girls, I think. And so if you agree with me about things being more exciting and things being art, you might sort of say, well, this car's owner's playing things too safe, having two German cars, which are undeniably some of the best cars on paper. Well, do you know what else he had for a period of time as his third car? He had a Ferrari Lusso, and he put a ton of miles on it. Absolutely incredible. Imagine that, having this M3, a 911 Turbo S, and a Ferrari Lusso. And he said that the engine on the Lusso was out of this world. However, comparing this car to the Lusso, he actually preferred the sort of locked-in chassis of this. He said he felt like the Lusso had a little bit too much body roll at high speeds. He didn't know whether it was because of the panoramic sunroof or not, but yeah, I found that really interesting. God, I keep getting so close, don't I, to getting an FF or a Lusso on the channel. It's going to happen one day. So do I regret buying the DB9 when I could have bought this? And look, I have to admit, this would have been a lot more practical, a lot cheaper to run.
Daddy.
But I didn't buy the DB9 simply to have it as a car. I wanted it as an experience. And this is amazing. But when you've got a car in your heart like a DB9 or whatever it is for you, you'll know what I mean. Even if something else is fundamentally better, the heart wants what it wants. And when the time comes, I do need a bit more practicality and I buy an M3 or maybe even an M5. Now that I know that you can't get free across back there easily, and an M5, I reckon I'll be able to fit all four of my children across the back in a multi-mac. So yeah, look, when the time comes, I'm looking forward to having one. But let's see if I can get some more exciting cars before then. God, it's just so good, this thing. This is such a wonderfully tight and precise thing to drive around. It's incredible. I can see why people get lost in the BMW cars. You know, once they've had an M3, they just go from one M car to the next because they are just so excellent. So obviously I need to say a massive thank you to this car's owner, Conor. I really appreciate him coming down today. And he came down while the weather's not particularly great. All the roads are really grotty and dirty, as you can see in some of the pictures of this car. But he drove it down to me, which I really appreciate because it means I can have more than one child in the car with me if it's close to home. So thank you so much, Conor. So in summary then, for BMW F80 M3 competition, this is an almost perfect car. It's really hard to find flaw in it. And the M3 full stop is an absolute Dadcars legend, isn't it? It's the dad car that nobody can complain about because at the end of the day, it's a 3 Series. You can't get much more practical than a 3 Series as a dad car, so you might as well have an M3. But the question is, what's the best M3? This is the first M3 I've ever driven, so I would love to drive some of the others on the channel and give you my thoughts. I want to say thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Every subscriber I get, I notice, because my channel's small. Also, all engagement really helps small channels. So liking, commenting, sharing the video, hitting the bell icon, all that stuff, for little channels, it means so much. It really does. So please do it. And I'll see you all on the next one. See you later, guys. Bye!